Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Decoding the hidden self, truths 13 through 18. Today, we're going to force a pretty profound shift in how you see literally everyone around you. We're decoding the hidden self using Nietzsche's final psychological truths. So get ready because we're about to strip away all those everyday masks and reveal the childhood scripts that are secretly driving us all. You look at the people around you every single day, right? At work, in your family, just walking down the street. You trust what they say, and you naturally buy into the personalities they project. But here's the thing, they aren't who you think. That polished surface, that's not them at all. It's really just armor. It's this carefully stitched together mask, shaped entirely by whatever kept them safe in the past. So the real question we've got to ask here is what exactly lies beneath the surface of all these polished everyday actions? I mean, if almost everyone is just an actor playing a role in a script they didn't even write, what is the core driver of all this performance? What are they really hiding from us? Well, it's pain, plain and simple. And to truly see it, you have to start peeling back the onion. Because behind every single rigid belief is a wound. People usually don't speak from a place of absolute truth. They speak from a place of survival. And to really grasp this, we need to look at how this hidden pain actually shows up in our daily interactions.
Let's kick things off with Truth 13, the armor of logic. We absolutely love to think of humans as these highly rational creatures, right? We argue facts, we make decisions based on pure reason. But Nietzsche believed that underneath every single bulletproof logical argument, there's actually a deep emotional wound hiding out. Think about that person who just loves to play devil's advocate. You know the type, maybe in the comments section or at a dinner party. They might say something like, "Oh, I don't believe in love, it's just a chemical fantasy." They use rationality as this blunt weapon to just shut down the conversation. They present it as an absolute, observable fact. But you really have to listen closer. Because here is the wild part, the actual flip. They aren't stating a rational fact at all. What they're doing is raising this massive emotional shield to protect a past pain they never ever want to feel again. We form our views based on what hurt us, and then we magically justify those exact views with logic. Suddenly, you realize their arguments aren't attacks, they're barricades. Once you see that, everything starts making a lot more sense. All right, moving right along to Truth 14, weakness and the spotlight. Let's see how this ties into how we handle power. Because how someone reacts to weakness puts the ultimate spotlight on their true character. It's super easy to play a nice role when you're dealing with your boss or your equals, but true character? That leaks out the second the power dynamic shifts in their favor. If you really want to read someone's character, don't pay attention to how they act around the strong. Watch exactly how they treat someone who literally cannot fight back. A waiter, a customer service rep, a junior employee. If they ruthlessly punish minor mistakes, they're likely terrified of their own flaws. They were probably never allowed to make mistakes themselves growing up. They're still fighting a war inside their own head. Because Nietzsche shows us that real strength, it is absolutely not about domination. It's about profound restraint. It's the mark of a person who has already won their inner war. It's the ability to witness weakness without any judgment, to sit with someone's sadness without awkwardly running away, and to forgive things that they could have easily chosen to punish. Okay, that brings us to Truth 15, the noise of the invisible. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. Why do some people demand absolutely all the attention in a room? Every outfit, every story, every loud entrance just screams, "Notice me." At first glance, it looks like supreme, rock-solid confidence, but actually, it's the exact opposite. When you see someone causing drama or just being too much, you have to ask yourself a pretty intense question. What are they terrified will happen if they are ignored? What happens if they aren't enough? This insatiable hunger for attention almost always stems from a terrifying fear of being invisible. They create all this external noise because they literally cannot bear the internal silence. You can literally trace this tragic timeline. The 10-year-old kid who felt totally ignored morphs into the 30-year-old adult who radically overcompensates. They're basically screaming just to prove they exist. They aren't asking for love directly. They're demanding it indirectly through performance and chaos. So next time you see that, don't judge the noise. Try to recognize the cry for help. Let's go even deeper into the core wound with Truth 16, the secret inside envy. Now, this is one of the hardest truths to admit to ourselves. We really like to think that when people attack others, it's just simply because they hate them. Boom, done. But human psychology is way more complex and honestly, way more painful than just simple hate. Have you ever noticed who people turn to target the most? It's usually the highly successful, the naturally confident, or the authentically free. Why is that? Because tearing down those exact traits prevents them from having to face what they've abandoned in themselves. It is so much easier to criticize than to admire. Destroying the image of someone who is authentically free is just a defense mechanism to hide their own self-betrayal. Redefining this completely changes the paradigm. It proves that malicious gossip and tearing others down is actually just envy. And envy? It's really just unspoken desire. It's the soul quietly whispering, I want that too, but I don't believe I'm allowed to have it. Once you see that, you honestly become immune to petty hate. Peeling back to the very center now, Truth 17, behavior is just biography. This reveals a pretty harsh reality. People don't just act out their current beliefs, they are actually reenacting their childhoods. We hear the phrase, people don't change all the time, right? But Nietzsche would frame that totally differently. People don't change, they repeat. It's like they're unconsciously running on a loop. Think about it. A kid gets punished for showing any emotion. So to survive, they become super cold and hyperlogical. Fast forward, and as an adult, they perform for toxic affection because, tragically, that is the only version of love they actually understand. They take the exact roles they were forced to play as kids and just run them on repeat today. So the absolutely crucial thing to remember here is this. Behavior is just biography. Behind every intimidating, difficult, or overly logical adult is just a scared little kid still waiting to feel safe. If you really want to read someone, don't just look at who they are right now in front of you. Ask yourself who they had to be in order to survive. All right, here we go. Truth 18. Patterns are a confession. If you know how to listen closely, repeated behaviors are actually incredibly loud confessions. People rarely know how to just sit down and verbally express what hurts them. So instead, they show you over and over and over again through their inescapable patterns. I am sure you've seen these unspoken confessions play out everywhere. Ghosting right when intimacy actually starts to build. Overworking to avoid ever having to sit in stillness with their own thoughts. Flirting endlessly but never ever actually connecting. I want you to realize these aren't just random, cute quirks. They are highly specific survival mechanisms. These repeating patterns, they're basically the soul crying out, saying, hey, this is exactly how I protect myself. They are telling you exactly where they were hurt and exactly what they fear repeating. When you finally learn to listen to the pattern instead of reacting emotionally to the person, you stop personalizing their behavior. You stop being a weapon, and you become a mirror. Okay, now we're going to turn the flashlight around. Time for the final mirror. Because let's be honest, this explainer wasn't just about reading everybody else's flaws. It was a mirror held right up to you. Your own patterns, your own deep fears, your own stitched-together personas. Nietzsche didn't just want us to sit back and psychoanalyze everybody else's masks. He wanted to awaken us to the uncomfortable reality that we are carrying the exact same wounds. Everything we judge in others is something we carry. Everything we admire is something we desperately long to embody. The more clearly you see the hidden pain in the people around you, the more clearly you've got to confront your own. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Whose mask are you wearing today? Which of your own childhood scripts is playing right now? Okay, let's dive right